Hi, this is Shane Patton, and this is Environmental Sciences, and I'm just here to talk about my 10-minute presentation that I have to offer here today for you. And this presentation is a research paper in reference to the phosphorus loading in Lake Mendota. Okay, it's an unpublished research paper prepared for our environmental science 3.9989-1174. And in my research, I've read that greenhouse gases and global warming has received increasing attention over the years. According to the book, Policy Implications of Greenhouse Warming, page 7, eutrophication, which is the depletion of oxygen in water bodies, kills off various types of aquatic animals. It is the response to the addition of excess nutrients, mainly phosphates, which induces explosive growth of plant and algae, the decaying of which consumes oxygen from water. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. Hold on just a second. Now, with this kill-off of various types of aquatic animals because of the lack of oxygen, it is the response to the addition of excess nutrients. Okay, once again, humans contributing to increasing levels of runoff in lakes due to acid rain from greenhouse gases and global warming. Studies have shown that eutrophic lakes may not recover for a millennium. According to Wisconsin Education News, although it has taken just 60 years for humans to put many freshwater lakes on the eutrophication fast track, a new study shows the recovery of the lakes may take 1,000 years under the best circumstances. UW-Madison limnologist Stephen R. Carpenter has done a study showing that a buildup of phosphorus in soils and lake watersheds is a strong candidate for being the source of seriously chronic environmental problems for many hundreds of years. I believe that if these results prove valid, this could lead to further problems, increasing the overall issue exponentially. As we know, eutrophication has transformed the world's lakes and clear springs to swamps. And because of oxygen depletion, it kills various aquatic species. Now, with that in mind, as mentioned in one of our lectures of harmful algal blooms, these things can be defined as the excessive growth of various species of phytoplankton, protists, cyanobacteria, and, as mentioned in class, material macro and benthic algae, which pose or whose proliferation negatively impacts water quality, aquatic ecosystem stability, and animal and human health. We mentioned the food web in PowerPoint presentations earlier in this semester, and how this is affected. Algal blooms may accumulate throughout the environment, throughout our drinking water and food web, which severely affects the health of secondary and tertiary consumers. Humans, of course, are exposed through drinking water consumption, consuming fauna, and through recreational activities. According to the EPA, exposure to these toxins through these various pathways may cause symptoms such as gastrointestinal distress, kidney and liver toxicity, skin rashes, respiratory distress, muscle and joint pain, and of course, neurological symptoms. As was always stated in previous lectures, the EPA confirms that while anthropogenically stimulated high biomass bloom events may not necessarily produce toxins, they may cause hypoxia or anoxia, although food webs may stimulate pathogenic bacterial growth that disrupts ecosystem balance and function. The issue here is that the amount of nutrients entering not only Lake Mendota, but the other Yahara lakes as well, that amounts with this amount of nutrients or phosphorus that is much too high to sustain. Stated in the Yahara Journal and stated on wisconsin.edu, the phosphorus isn't necessarily a problem by itself, but when it enters the lakes, it leads to issues for organisms in the lake and visitors who use it. Richard Lathrop, or should I say Richard Lathrop, a research limnologist with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources who studies the Madison Lakes, explained that the heavy flow of phosphorus has resulted in increased productivity of the lake known as eutrophication. This leads to high possibilities of harmful byproducts, or should I say a high possibility of harmful byproducts. Per Wisconsin.edu, the unnatural eutrophication of the Madison Lake started in the 1800s. So as you can see, this process already has a huge head start over the ones waiting or wanting to reverse this process. As read through the pages of policy implications that I've read myself, I've noticed a pattern of discussion that continuously brought up the fact that global climate change has complicated the matters, propelling us further into oblivion, something that doesn't seem to be evaporating anytime soon. Now, with that being said, according to Wisconsin.edu, they state that although certain agricultural practices have managed to curtail the amount of sediment runoff, meaning a reduction in nutrient runoff, more frequent and magnified runoff events resulting from rainfall and snow melt have essentially negated those practices in recent years, which overly confirms what has been read in policy implications. Investment. Now there could be investment, which it could involve choosing among alternatives, using alternative uses of resources, finding the cheapest solution in an array of possible responses to greenhouse gases entails comparing all possible options on the table, a complex balancing act that we all need the help of the public and private sectors to help make policies that could be effectively implemented in a timely fashion. According to the policy implications of greenhouse warming, much human adaptation involves the invention and diffusion of technology, both hardware and software. Many past human achievements in technology have helped us adapt ourselves and activities to climate change and variable weather. The overall good news is that Lathrop and various conservation organizations in the local area here in Madison has a good grasp of what needs to be done in order to clean up Mendota and the other Yahara lakes. Now listen to this. On this website, Country of Dane or countyofdane.com, it says that these analyses have been determined in order to relieve the problem more efficiently and more quickly. For instance, number one, let's say, for instance, a new citizen lake monitoring program should be developed to provide important information on lake shoreline conditions and are not currently being assessed. On lake shoreline conditions that are not currently being assessed. Such a monitoring program, like in our class reading, might include the collection of Secchi discs and or turbidity readings of waters around the entire lake shoreline, where algae densities and scums can vary dramatically and ephemerally, depending on wind speed and direction. And in the scientific report done by Richard C. Lathrop and Stephen R. Carpenter, called Phosphorus Loading and Lake Response Analysis for the Yahara Lake, says that a long-term runoff monitoring station on 6 Mile Creek should be established to improve phosphorus loading information for Mendota. The more informed we are, ladies and gentlemen, the more well off we become. If we continue to remain mindless to these happenings to our lakes and streams, imagine the biotic life, the biotic environments, and all of the aquatic life, and how that process affects the food chain. I mean, this is absolutely corrosive to the future of humans and animals alike. I mean, management practices are essential. We need to manage these things economically, perhaps even establish a system of policy where companies that produce that have the most production per unit of that can produce the most per unit of pollution, maybe it will help to inspire these companies to produce less pollution while winning over these contracts to the rights to pollute, tradable rights to pollute. With that being said, have a good day, guys.